Minnesota Vikings.
Welcome back to NowMedia News. This is Sherman, your co-host.
And this is Maite Ballesteros. Thanks for joining us. And the Houston Texans have announced their preseason schedule. The first game is scheduled to be on August 14th against the Minnesota Vikings. And then on week 2, August 22nd, it will be against the Seattle Seahawks, right?
Yes, absolutely. And so it'll be exciting to see where this goes, right? As we talked about yesterday in the news, that Governor Abbott here in the state of Texas allowed sporting events to occur, right? Basketball, football, various sporting events, but there's no fans. As of right now, the NFL hasn't come out and said whether there's going to be a fan inside those stadiums, since we have till the end of August, really before, or the middle part of August, before the preseason and season really starts hitting. So it will be really interesting to see how this starts to play out with COVID-19 and everything else.
So what's going to happen to the rest of the sports? What do you think?
I think for a lot of folks to try to get at least the players back and active and playing and competing, I think they'll be playing in front of a no spectator crowd, even though they'll be in these big stadiums and coliseums and fields. But yet nobody will be there except the staff and the crew in order to film the broadcast. And
I imagine that in order to play, there will be some restrictions that the players have to follow. Do you think that they're going to have to follow some restrictions? I imagine so.
No, you bring up a really good point. I think some of the concerns for the players is, do they have to self-quarantine for a certain time period? Right. Are they only playing in certain cities? Are only doing home games? And so it definitely creates this difficulty. You know, you look at the PGA announcing golf, it makes it really easy because it already is a game of social distancing to a certain extent, right? You're not really touching another player's clubs. You're not really getting into their space. A lot of times when they're walking next to their caddy, and so they already are in a sense practicing social distancing. When it comes to a tennis match, the only thing that you're actually sharing is that tennis ball.
Right.
And so, you know, how many times does that get touched? And so there's different ways that sports arenas are looking, and sporting ventures and professional sports is looking at adjusting to this going forward. So it's going to be quite
interesting.
Yes.
But I imagine that they will have to have a medical exam or temperature checking. Wearing masks, I don't know.
It's a really good point. I know that Ford plant had opened up, and then unfortunately someone was tested positive today. They had to clean it, send everybody home, and then they're going to reopen tomorrow. So we're going to break for a quick commercial, folks. We're going to come right back and give you really the highlights of the news. We're going to run down a rundown. So hear a word from our sponsor, please.
In this digital age, conventional business cards are a thing of the past. In fact, most people lose them in minutes of having received them. The NowMedia Video Business Card is recorded with cutting-edge technology designed to be sent out quickly and easily using your smartphone. It features your contact information, summary of all your company's products and services, as well as giving you a fresh and innovative look. Hundreds of companies are already seeing the difference. Call us at 832-384-9588.
The right tax team is key to any successful business. At America's Tax Firm, our goal is to help individuals and businesses of all sizes with accounting solutions and tax strategies that yield profitability, sustainability, and growth. At America's Tax Firm, we have a team of experienced tax consultants and advisors that can help your company optimize business strategies to minimize taxes and reduce liabilities. From preparing and filing your personal or business taxes, or choosing the right legal structure for your business, to resolving complex tax issues with the IRS, America's Tax Firm is your turnkey solution. Take a strong and decisive step and let America's Tax Firm be part of your success.
Welcome back to NowMedia News. That is a live shot of South Carolina. This is Sherman On, co-host of NowMedia News.
And this is Maite Ballesteros. Thank you for joining us. this evening.
So one of the announcements that just came out is the WHO announced that this was a single day of actual increase after it seemed like we were flattening the curve. So talk a little bit about that, Maite. What's happened?
Well, apparently in Brazil there's been a raise of cases, and they don't know exactly why. Maybe because they have not followed the measures and the social distancing. But in other cities in the world also, including the United States, is that right?
So I know from what's been known so far is that Central and South America seem to have a lower amount of cases throughout, but all of a sudden Brazil announced over 20,000 new cases today alone. And you're right, Maite, that was due to the lack of stay-at-home orders. Their borders are still open, so I know some of that came from travelers from Argentina, Peru, and so with that, all eyes are on Brazil because now they became the third country in the world to have the most amount of COVID-19 cases. They actually surpassed England, the UK. And so I know that's a big concern as Central America is now going to have to deal with COVID-19 and how that's going to impact things.
Yeah, and probably it's also because Bolsonaro initially was taking it a little bit lightly on measures on protecting people from COVID-19, and so maybe that's one of the reasons why Brazil is spiking on the cases.
Yeah, and you can see there on the map that we're showing you the different spikes that have occurred. You can see the epicenter of the United States. You can see the total right now, current confirmed cases, 4.8 million. You can see Brazil there at the very tip in South America really hitting off. But you have some different spots where it's very highly concentrated. Those parts of Europe, Italy, Spain, really having some really large amounts of cases, large amounts of fatalities, unfortunately, due to COVID-19. And so I know for here in the United States, one of the concerns is as we reopen across the various states is to make sure people are still practicing social distancing, encouraging people to still wear masks, because it's not about us being healthy and safe. It's about passing that on if we are feeling healthy and safe.
Right. It's also about protecting others too, wearing gloves, wearing the mask, or practicing social distancing appropriately. Yeah.
So I want to go down to a little what I'm going to call the rundown here. We're going to go rip some of these headlines right off of the news. Some of this is coming from the NewYorkTimes.com. So number one, you might have seen that FEMA was announced to head out to Michigan. There was a dam that erupted after heavy amounts of rain that occurred last night. Places of Dow Chemical, some industrial spots have had to no employees are coming in just due to that. Also, we saw that there's a huge storm coming out of India. Unfortunately, Bangladesh has had to move over 2 million people in concern of this, 1.4 to 2 million people. And so the concern is that they've already had stay-at-home orders, and how is this going to affect their economy now that you have this huge push of people being having to flee that part of the country. And so there's a lot of natural disasters as we look at what's happening here in the United States, kind of in the Gulf Coast area. We're going to start approaching hurricane season, and I know that has a lot of scientists looking at how that's going to affect things, where we already have a lot of people staying at home, and how that's going to affect the population as a whole.
Well, hopefully that won't. Hopefully we won't have a lot of natural disasters. We already had to go through COVID-19, which was already, a disaster. Thank you.
We're gonna get real local here. I know Judge Lena had actually approved a $3 million stimulus to be able to help with rent. That's a big deal. They're hoping, the anticipation is that $30 million should help around 6,000 people. Over 12,000 people receive a check of up to $1,500 to pay for rent. And so last time when they did this a couple weeks ago, that $15 million was gone in 90 minutes. There were 17,000 applications, and only 6,000 was approved. And so we're hopeful that will be able to alleviate some of the struggle that were occurring for some people here in our city to be able to get some loans.
Well,
for rent.
yeah, that would be definitely a relief for some families that are struggling or that they lost their jobs.
And so if you need assistance right now, I know that for food, I know that for children that aren't receiving food.
Right, there are some resources that we can
Absolutely,
refer
yes.
to our audience.
Houston ISD is providing lunch for those families, particularly those children that were typically in school receiving breakfast, lunch, and even a kind of a light dinner. Also, we have the Houston Food Bank. I know that there's an ever-growing need for people to donate blood as well, as we are fighting this disease, and it's caused a lot of resources to be utilized. So for anyone that is open and able to donate blood, definitely reach out to your local food bank, blood centers to be able to donate really what you have to those that are in need.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everybody, we appreciate you for tuning in. If you want to catch any of this, you can see NowMediaRadio.com, and we have the broadcast continuing to be sent out to you. This is Sherman On.
And this is Maite Ballesteros, and thanks for joining us this evening.
Have a great evening.